Hi everyone, Chillax here and welcome to another Anchor Panic video. So today I'm going to be talking about everything to do with normal arena. In normal arena, if I was to back out for a moment, that's this one right here. The next video will be about advanced arena, and that's going to be a tougher video to film, but normal arena, I have a lot of examples to show you. As you can see here, I'm currently rank 3. I'm in a pretty whale bracket, a lot of top heavy players. I would say anyone rank 14 or higher can beat me. They have the potential to beat me. Yeah, it's rough. That's the reason why I'm not legend this time. Because every time when I get close, there's always someone who rock paper scissors me and takes a win, and I have to, you know, take a deep breath and move on with my life. But anyways, the structure of this video will be as follows. First, I'm just gonna go over some housekeeping. Basically, why do you even do this mode? Basic defensive and offensive team lineup suggestions, tips and tricks that I have for you, and then we'll go over some records of teams, the top teams that are in my bracket. Now, I mentioned bracket because you won't be paired with everyone on the global server, which is kind of a good thing because that's less whales to deal with. Yes, and I want to say that the matchmaking or the bracket construction has to do with your account level. At least that's what someone on Discord was saying. But it's totally random. Like, my guild has 30 whales, and I would say maybe 8 or less of my guildmates are in my bracket. So I'm pretty sure they divide it pretty evenly across all different power levels. So even if you are not a whale, let's say you are free to play, I think it is very reasonable to reach top 100, even top 30, and get the majority of the rewards. Because as you can see here, even the rank 30 player is already an expert by now, and we have 2 days left in the season before it resets. And the thing about rewards is that there's not much of a difference between legend and expert. As you can see, it's just like a 1k ranking, season rank difference. And then daily rewards, as you can see, it's just 100 difference. This is the currency, by the way, arena license to purchase rewards. So this is more vanity than everything else in terms of the rank. So if, like, for instance, I'm not even in legend rank, but I'm not even going to sweat it. It's fine. Yeah, and in terms of supplies to purchase, I would probably purchase special link permits, D-blood reagents, right? Because you need the heroes in order to perform well in this game. And then for the rest of the resources, it really depends on what you need. I would say most players are going to need either the empower nuclei or model reinforcements for the sigils and models respectively, and anything else you can dump into crystal cores to basically bring your skills beyond level 10. All right, so let's go over Defense 101 real quick. I would say that in terms of defensive formations, this is probably one of the best. The reason is because against the average person, there will be 2 safe zones. Actually, there's fewer safe zones now that Abyss Alicia is out. But in the past, the the how should I say, the positions that are most highly contested, like you can expect some attacks on those positions, would be the frontmost and the rearmost. And the rearmost position is here. And then the only way that you can hit these 2 tiles right here is with uh, an operator that has opposite front positioning. Now, which operators can hit opposite front row? Abyss Alicia is one, and that's why she's been so disruptive for the meta, because the introduction of Abyss Alicia has essentially made it so that instead of 3 safe zones, now there's only one. But Rose exists too, so there's technically no safe zones now. But Abyss Alicia can threaten any of these 3 positions depending on where she is on the opposite side. That's what opposite front row means. Yes. And the only other hero who had this type of targeting was Eucaly. And that's why Eucaly was a great counter to a lot of Karanissa teams or Karanissa Tiya metas, because if, say, in anticipation of an opposing Tiya or Karanissa, you heavily protect the back row. Like, let's say you have a Flicker here and you have a Lilira here, and you put your squishy DPSs here, you could put a Eucaly to blow them out from the front. So, but now that you have Abyss Alicia, putting DPSs in the front is not as viable as was the case in the past. I would say that if you had to protect two squishy DPSs, the most important one you would put right here. The only operator who can hit this position as of this recording, there's two. One is Rose, who has focus opposite, and typically you would put Rose in the rearmost on the opposite side, so she'll target this position. That's actually why I have my Rose here, because she will target the traditionally safe position. And then the other one is Dwalin, the nature damage dealer, but nature is not viable right now, and most people don't have Dwalin built, so yeah, usually it'll be Rose on this position. So if you have a squishy DPS, like let's say Tiya or Karanissa, or your own Rose, I would put them here. And then if you have a second squishy DPS, like let's say you want to run Ling and Karanissa, I would put your second DPS over here on this position. Yeah, so these two are the safest positions. Of course, a smart player could put Abyssal Alicia here and blow out your DPS there, but that's the risk that you take. Alright, and then in terms of offensive position, you're going to... offensive formations are going to curate it based on the matchups that you will face. In terms of matchmaking, how it works in this game is that the lower your rank, the wider the pool of opponents you could possibly get matched up against. So this, in the beginning, your offensive formation will be almost identical to your defensive formation, because you have to make it more all-purpose, right? You have to account for as many different meta teams as possible, or like random formations. But once you get to, say, like rank 3 or like rank 20, the pool of opponents that you will face will be more constricted, and you'll be able to fine-tune your offensive formation to counter specific teams that you get paired up against a lot, like say at least once a day. So this might not seem intuitive to you because I put my Rose here, which I realize now is actually a very bad idea. But yeah, I think what I'll probably do is something like... Actually, I'll just swap to... I'm trying to counter a certain team right now that I'm struggling against. But it's really challenging because there's not really any safe zones now, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe I'll do something like this. Yeah, because, you know, the issue I'm facing right now is that I'm getting blown out by opposing Abyss Alicias, and Abyss Alicia has the potential to smoke any operator in one turn because she can ult on round 1. And so if she's on a very fast team and Abyss Alicia moves before you move, she can KO your operator before she acts. So I think I'll probably do something like this, because this position right here, remember what I said before, this position tends to be one of the two safe zones. So I think it makes a lot of sense to put her here. Actually, this can often be a safe zone too. A lot of people are positioning their Abyss Alicia here or here because most operators can target this position because it's considered frontmost, right? So focus front row units will target where turn is. However, yeah, so if I was going against a smart opponent, if I was smart, I would position my Abyss Alicia either here or here. Yeah. But this is where the mind games come in, because maybe you know the opponent knows that, so they'll put their squishy unit here. But anyways, I digress. Let's go ahead and save this. So that's the thought process regarding the offensive builds. offensive formations. Okay, so let's go over the different archetypes. I'm gonna go over the rank 2 players team. He did quit before Abyssal Alicia came out. He is running what was the best old meta team. Essentially what you would do is you would run double tank in the front and the back. And as you can see, you'll see a lot of teams that are running this exact formation, as well as one other one that I'll show later, because it has the safest zones, I would say. Yeah, so you would put a tank in the front, tank in the back. If you need two tanks, dedicated tanks, I would say Flicker is the #1 choice and Antelope is a very close second because both of them are capable of shielding on turn 1. In Antelope's case, she has a 40% chance to shield on turn 1 with Ascension 3 and 100% with Ascension 6. And when the shield is broken, the shield heals that operator. So Antelope is very good. I recommend you build her. I think a lot of people overlook her. So Flicker in the front, Antelope, or Flicker in the back, Antelope in the front. You put your two squishy DPSs in the safest positions, which would be this and this. And then you put your speed tuner here. So it could be Turn or it could be Echo. Yeah, so this was the old meta. And then now let's show you the new meta. So this is cropping up now. I have at least three players in the top 13 in my bracket that are running this team. It's very powerful. So essentially you're running, there's actually two flavors to this. This flavor runs double speed tuner in the form of Turn and Echo. And Echo is noteworthy because she can also provide additional heals to supplement Lilira's. Because Lilira, she doesn't really heal very well. You run her for shields, as well as the revival from Ascension 3. But with Echo, it's a lot easier to top up everyone's HP in combination with Lilira. I think I might start doing this too, if I continue to run into issues. Yeah, and then you have Rose in the safest position possible. So this team is great. If you are a whale, if you have a well-invested Rose, this is the team to run. Because essentially what happens is, yeah, you're running triple support, but every time your support moves, if you have an ascended with a couple copies of Rose's sigil, she starts off with more ammo, which means that even before Rose is moving, as your fast supports are moving, your Rose is already starting to follow up attack everyone on the enemy side. And so this can make it so you can pick up some quick KOs. Yeah, so, with Echo and Turn, the combination of their speed tunes, which stack, by the way, the speed buffs stack, the combination of the speed makes it so that even if your Abyssal Alicia is built more tanky, like let's say she has minimal speed investment, it doesn't matter because there's so much speed buffs onto your Abyssal Alicia that your entire team ends up moving before the enemy. So essentially what ends up happening, I can show you. I end up winning, but it was close. Okay, so this is my opponent, okay? So opponent turns move first, because defensive units move first. My turn thankfully was faster than her Echo, so I cut in. Oh, and my Rose is probably more invested than his, or I got lucky. Yeah, so look at how much damage my Rose did already. It's insane. My Rose hasn't even moved yet. Yeah, see, oh yeah, and now his Rose is retaliating. Now his Rose moves, ults, because he took. So when you are oh, thank the Lord he didn't KO my Lilira. That was close. If he took out my Lilira, I would have been done for. But my Lilira survived. And one trick here is when you're on round 1, if your operator has less than 50% HP before moving, they will cast their energy burst on round 1. So that's the reason why my opponent was able to get his Rose ult off on the first turn, is because like my follow-up my follow-up attacks were so strong that it gave him extra energy. Yeah. But I got lucky here because, you know, the thing with Abyss Alicia is she has a chance to energy burst, but she doesn't always. So in this case, his energy, his Abyss Echo is, or Abyss Echo, sorry, Abyss Alicia is very well positioned because even though she's in the back row, she focuses, she's opposite front row, which in this case was um, my Lilira. So my Lilira actually wasn't in the safest position. Yeah, but anyways, I eked that out. It was a bit of RNG. I got lucky. Yeah. All right. So that is more of an illustration of how that works. So yeah, that's Bobobo. Bobobo is currently rank 5, but in my opinion, he's my toughest opponent. Ivy's also very powerful, although I think Ivy's been struggling a little bit lately. So Shinrai is the current rank 4 player who I struggle with sometimes. So he is running a different flavor of this team. So in Bobobo's case, he's running a more offensive team because you have rows, you have two DPSs, right? But in this case with Shinrai, he has Abyss Alicia as the hyper carry, and his Lilira is very tanky, like tankier than mine, and I built mine super tanky. So the way this team works is essentially you have double speed tuners, double tanks, because in Bobobo's case she doesn't have a flicker, but he doesn't need a flicker because he's so fast. But in the case of Shinrai, he's a little bit slower, I think, stat wise. So that's why he had to modify his team by taking out a DPS and putting in another support. Yes, I think this team is very well built. So you have Flicker holding the back lane, you have Abyss Alicia holding the front. And Abyss Alicia on this position is decent because, like I mentioned before, if the opponent can get Abyss Alicia below half HP on round 1, she gets extra energy to burst on round 1, and her burst is devastating. So not a bad idea. Yeah, and then you have Turn and Lilira is fairly safe too because Turn is going to be like, let's say I put my Abyss Alicia here, which I do sometimes. His Turn will take the brunt of that, and you know it's okay if Turn gets KO'd because Lilira can always revive her with the Ascension 3. So very solid team. I struggle against this team sometimes because all of these heroes are tanky. There's no benefit from sniping any of these allies or enemies early besides maybe Lilira because they can all revive. Yeah, so very solid team there. Yoki has been giving me some trouble lately. So Yoki has a very unique team. I would say that this is kind of a hybrid of the old meta with the new meta because like I mentioned to you before in the very beginning, the old meta used to be Ling and Karanissa, or say like a Tiya. But um, because the meta had so much of that, it made it so that players who ran a very well built Eucaly could blow out the opponent from the front. Because, you know, with all the Karanissa and Tiya teams running rampant, what ended up happening was I would put like a flicker and say like a Lilira here, and this was like before Abyss Alicia was released, right? And before a lot of people summoned Rose. So you would protect the back lane with these two, but then a Karnissa player would just swap to their Eucaly comp and blow you out from the front because you know the front most uh, because we're putting the flicker in the front and a lot of people don't have antelope built, so maybe they'll put a support like a turn over here or an echo, and then Eucaly would like, you know, easily KO an echo, right, or even KO a turn because Eucaly does she hits very hard with basic attack and skills, and she does a follow-up attack too. Yeah, so very powerful. Eucaly Eucaly and Abyss Alicia have the same targeting, so they both will target whoever is opposite in the front row. Now, if I was to give Yoki some advice, what I would actually do is take note of where the opponent is putting their high value units. So in my case, I protected my Rose very well, right? She's the only one I really need to protect because everyone else, if they get KO'd, they have either the ability to revive themselves or my Lilira can revive them. But if say like I had my Tiya here as an example, say like I was running my old comp with Tiya. So let me show you my old comp. Yeah, so this was my old comp, right? If I was to beat myself with Yoki's account, what I would probably do is I would do the formation that has, I think, yeah, basically you can put two operators on this lane. I would put Abyss Alicia here, and I would probably put oh no, actually I would put Eucaly here and I would put Abyss Alicia here. Because Abyss Alicia can tank too. Eucaly can't. So I would put Eucaly here, put Abyss Alicia here, blow out this lane right here. And then from there, because whenever possible, you want to take out their DPS. So that's what I would probably recommend to Yoki if I was nice. Yoki's in my guild, maybe I'll help him out. But that's what I would do with this comp. But fairly solid comp. Sorry, I kind of rambled a little bit, but essentially what you would do, you're running two hyper carries, one of which can serve as a tank. You use these two in combination along the same row. Focus down wherever you want. In my case, I have my flicker here to absorb a lot of damage, but there's mind games, right? Because sometimes I'll have my turn here, and if they want to really take out my turn, yeah, this will work. Yeah, and then Lilira here is a little bit risky. I've started to do that too because the meta has shifted away from Karanissa and Tiya and more towards front lane units like you know yeah, these two basically, or Rose, who typically focuses this lane now. So this lane is a bit safer now compared to how it was in the past. But anyways, I digress. Oh, Ivy. I haven't faced Ivy in a while. Ivy used to give me a lot of trouble, and Ivy could beat me easily, but I haven't faced him that much lately. I think he's having some matchup issues against other players within the same bracket. Uh, as you can see here, he's kind of experimenting a little bit because he used to run, I think, the optimal position, but he kind of made the position a little bit. I think I wouldn't. I was about to say a little bit worse, but not necessarily, because when I look at this now, the way this team works is you have Abyss Alicia here to blow out a turn. Most players put their turn here, and then Flicker is protecting opposing Abyss Alicias from hitting Rose. So Rose is actually very safe because even if they KO the Lyra, they have to hit turn next. So actually, this is a nice defensive lineup. Yeah, yeah, Rose is actually very safe. So if say you're facing against an opposing Rose comp and they're faster than you, what you can do is you can do this position, what Ivy's doing. That way, if the opponent has a Rose over here, they're targeting your turn, not your Rose. This, when I think about it now, this is actually pretty ingenious because a lot of players put Rose here to take out opposing Liliras because a lot of people put Lilira here because just intuitively you don't want to put your healer rearmost because if your healer goes down, the team usually falls apart. But I mean, Ivy's really taking into account the meta and being like, okay, well, not a whole lot of people are running Karanissa or Tiyas now, so I can afford to put my Lilira in the rearmost, and I'll put turn where Rose is targeting, and I'll put my Rose in a fairly safe position. And Rose targeting here is pretty good because Rose will target this position, which is one of the traditionally safer zones. Like I would say this is the safest, this is the second safest, and this is the third safest. Yeah, in terms of being blown out from the front or the back. Okay, and there's one more team that I want to show you, which is Mikoto. Actually, two more teams. So this is Mikoto's team. Shout out to you, Mikoto. He comments on my videos a lot. So Mikoto is starting to run what is, in my opinion, the best comp, or one of the two best comps. So, double speed tuner, double DPS, and a tank. So this is quite nice. This is the beauty of Abyssal, because Abyssal, she is a DPS and she can tank. And so this really creates, I think the meta has been more interesting ever since she came out. Used to be it was just Karanissa all over the place, or Eucaly to counter, that kind of meta. But anyways, so essentially you have Flicker holding down the fort, and then Rose threatening the rearmost here, Abyssal holding down the back, and then Echo here. Yeah, it's a pretty good team. Oh, here's another team. So this I think is the rank 13 player. Ooh, okay. Now if you want to go full ice team, this is spicy. Although I'd probably change it a little bit. But I remember there was a time when this team gave me a little bit of trouble, because back in the day, before Abyssal came out, there was a lot of pressure on the back row because Tiya's and Karanissas were running rampant. So what he did here was he protected the front and the back with Lilira and Flicker. And back then the back lane was more under fire. So Flicker in the back naturally, because she can cheat death and shield and all that, and bulky. And then what you do, so he put his Eucaly here to blow out what is traditionally a weaker position. Now, this is why I went with the cross formation. This formation is not as good as it used to be, but it used to be pretty good, because of the unique targeting of Eucaly. The only way to defend her on this lane is to put my tanky unit in the front row here. And the nice thing about this formation is that it spreads out the front row damage a little bit. Yeah, because after this gets taken out, then it'll hit my Lilira next. So this is like a pretty safe area. And this is a safe area. Actually, my formation back then was not that great. Yeah, I probably would change this. But this was in the early days. Yeah. So the way this team works is, you have Lengjiao to freeze the enemies. So if you are going against a weaker opponent who is doing like chip damage to you, maybe not KOing your units, but bringing your units low HP, you can actually freeze the enemies on round 2. And Lengjiao, with say like minimum 2-piece precision set and her signature sigil. Actually, if you go 4-piece precision and then you have her signature sigil, she can have, I think, like a 61% accuracy. Actually, maybe even more than that. So what I'm trying to say is that she can freeze at least 3 of the enemies, which is quite powerful. And usually by that time, it's GG's, because the combination of Eucaly and Tiya, it does a lot of damage. This is a nice team for you to try. And P. Tammy, where are you? I was trying to find... Oh, okay. I guess P. Tammy is no longer here. Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay, I was trying to show you another team. But anyways, that was pretty interesting. I've never really studied the opponent's team quite like that. So hopefully this was a lot of food for thought regarding how you should build your team. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Take care, guys.